Agricultural Shows of Australia have just developed a new young judges competition, which is the soil judging competition. So what is soil judging? Soil judging is about classifying a soil based on its presented characteristics. Each competitor is provided with their own soil core of the exact same soil type. So from there, the competitors will be assessed on how they're characterising the profile in front of them, so on a soil core in front of them, in comparison to the over-judges' scores that they've presented. So how can you classify a soil and how can you be assessed on it? So soils are essentially a series of layers. So each competitor, we want them to assess the different layers within those soils. So do we have 3 layers? Do we have 4, 5, 6 layers within 60 centimetres to a metre in a soil profile? So soil cores can be extracted from the field using a soil coring rig, and they then presented, can be just a half PVC tube to present the soil core, and then each competitor can then assess the different layers down through the profile. So here we can look at a topsoil coming down, transitioning into a second layer, a third layer here where we see this change of colour, and then a fourth where we come down into the clay. This then provides the foundation to the grouping of how we'll then judge a soil and what overall soil order or classification we give that soil. Once the soils have been assessed against the criteria, which you'll find in the handbook, as per the Young Judges format, there will also be an oral presentation component. So each competitor will have the chance to defend their reasoning around their soil characterisation. At the end of the day, there is a lot of opinion-based assessments in soil classification, so there's a chance for each competitor to defend their reasoning there. So a 2-minute oral presentation will be presented to the judge, and a final score is then collated between the physical marking sheet and also the oral presentation. Overall, the soil judging competition is a competition that can fit into any show society's program. So all that is required is a soil core. Then we've got a number of different tests that can be conducted on this core once it's presented. Within the handbook, there are some details around the different assessments that the competitors have to do. So each competitor, once they have their core displayed in front of them, they'll be provided with some tools for their assessments. So overall, the assessments are relatively simple to be conducted over the period of time the competitors are provided. Important one is the depth, so tape measure or ruler to provide that depth of each of those layers. We'll then have the water, which is used for soil texturing. So each of the layers that the competitors define need a soil texture. So that involves just water, which can then be used to wet up a sample to then provide a soil texture assessment. We will then do on each of the soil layers a soil pH test. This is a simple Manutech test that can be located from any sort of gardening or hardware store. And then we've got the soil dispersion and slaking. So this is looking at soil structure. So what we need for that is some distilled water. Make a little pond in each of the dishes that we've got, and a small sample of the soil is placed in each of them, and then we see how that soil structure holds together. For any soils that have calcium carbonate in them or limestone in them, we will also have some dilute hydrochloric acid. Alternatively, some vinegar can also be used as a substitute for this assessment, where just a drop of the solution needs to be placed on the calcium carbonate in the soil and see if it fizzes. All competitors will have a marking sheet which they need to complete. Pencils are usually best to be provided. Quite simply, as long as we've got a space within a showground environment with some tables to be able to present the soil cores, there is a simple kit outlined in the handbook for you to provide for the competitors. We can then quite simply run the competition.